The air conditioner in the head nurse's office was cranked to an Arctic chill, the kind of industrial, lifeless cold that blasted with precision onto the sweat-dampened back of my neck, like an icy, slick snake slithering upward, probing every vertebra of my spine. But I felt no cold. My insides were ablaze, a fire of shame, fear, and despair roaring so fiercely it threatened to burst out through my eyes. "Chloe," head nurse Emily's voice came from across the massive mahogany desk, eerily calm, like a doctor delivering a prognosis to a patient's family before surgery. No personal emotion, just stating an unchangeable fact. "The hospital board has reviewed your case. The final decision is a formal disciplinary action and a 1-year probationary period." My throat felt like it was filled with dry cement. I tried to muster a sound of acknowledgement, but all that came out was a hoarse, guttural noise, something like She slid a document across the desk. Those few thin sheets of A4 paper glided over the polished surface, making a faint, grating shoo sound. In the silent office, that noise was amplified infinitely, like a dull blade slowly slicing through my eardrums, burrowing into my brain, stirring up memories I desperately tried to bury. "Take a look. The terms are all there. If everything's in order, sign on the last page." My gaze, like iron filings to a magnet, was locked onto the document. Black ink on white paper, every printed letter like a poisoned nail driven deep into my soul. My name, Chloe Jenkins, was printed clearly on the first line, followed by my employee ID, and below that the cold, objective, yet heart-stabbing accusations. Misappropriation of patient charity funds, a substantial amount, egregious conduct. I knew every word, but strung together like this, they formed a monster I'd never seen before, grinning wickedly, ready to devour my entire life. "Chloe," Emily sighed, her voice finally tinged with a trace of human warmth, maybe pity, maybe exhaustion. "How did you let yourself get to this point? $250,000. Have you ever calculated how many overnight shifts it would take to earn that back?" That sentence, those words about overnight shifts, were like a key, instantly unlocking the floodgates of my tears. They came without warning, surging down my face. Not because of the humiliating disciplinary action, not because of the uncertain future, but because of those 4 words, overnight shifts. They were a spell, yanking me back to the starting point of that twisted, depraved track. It all began there. The summer a year ago felt longer and hotter than any before. My life was like the flickering voice-activated light in our hospital corridor, only briefly illuminating when startled by the hurried footsteps of a patient's family or the clattering wheels of a gurney, then plunging back into suffocating darkness and silence. I was a registered nurse, working in the ICU of the downtown hospital for 4 years. I used to be passionate about my job. I remember my graduation, wearing a crisp new nurse's uniform, tears of excitement welling up during the capping ceremony, genuinely believing I was living out the Nightingale pledge, a guardian of life. But 4 years later, that passion had been ground down by the daily grind, exhaustion, and a sense of powerlessness. My life was ruled by 2 smells, the pervasive sting of disinfectant, seeping into my skin, my hair, even my dreams, and the smell of death, an indescribable mix of decay, medication, and grief. I wrestled with death every day. I'd seen shattered bodies, heard the most desperate wails, covered a patient who'd just been talking to me with a white sheet, and calmly notified their family. I learned to stay composed in the chaos of a code, to explain the cruelest realities with the most professional terms, to pack and compress my emotions and shove them into the deepest corners of my heart. But I wasn't a machine. At 5 a.m. that day, I just finished a hellish overnight shift. We fought all night to save a young man from a car accident, but we couldn't pull him back from death's grip. When the doctor called the time of death, his mother's heart-wrenching scream pierced through all my professional armor. I hid in the supply closet, covering my mouth, trembling. When I dragged my leaden legs out of the hospital, the city sky was a dirty, fish-belly white. Street sweepers sprayed water, and the air carried a damp, fishy smell. A homeless man curled up on a bench by the hospital entrance, covered with newspapers. In that moment, I felt no fundamental difference between us. We were both drained by life, discarded at the city's edge. Back in my rented suburban apartment, I was too exhausted to even undress, collapsing spread-eagled onto the bed. The room was a mess, takeout containers piled in the corner, work scrubs slung over a chair. It didn't feel like a home, more like a battery pack for recharging, just enough to keep going the next day. My phone screen lit up with my college friend Olivia's Instagram. She'd just returned from Cancun, posing in a vibrant bohemian dress, barefoot on a white beach, golden sunset and turquoise sea behind her, smiling like a sunflower in full bloom. Her caption read, "Life is short, stay sexy. Don't let work drain you, let the world heal you." Staring at that photo, something stung my heart. Jealousy? Maybe. Olivia was an editor at a fashion magazine, her life seemingly always full of sunshine, beaches, and elegant afternoon teas. My life? Just the monotonous beeping of monitors, the stifled sobs of patients' families, and sleep I could never catch up on. We graduated from the same university, lived in the same dorm, so why had our paths diverged so drastically? In that mix of exhaustion, grievance, and resentment, an ad popped up on my phone. Its bright red icon flickered like a flame. The tagline was seductive. Your future worth borrowing for. $1,000 instantly, no waiting. Your future. Where was my future? In this tiny rental, drowning in student loans, stuck in endless night shifts? The thought took root like a poisonous seed, sprouting rapidly. Almost possessed, I clicked through. Upload driver's license, face recognition, link bank account. The process took less than 10 minutes, unbelievably fast. When your $1,000 loan is approved, flashed on the screen, my heart lurched. Then came the bank's deposit notification. Its crisp chime the sweetest music I'd ever heard in the silent early morning. It wasn't just $1,000, it was a key to another world. Clutching it, I trembled, half with fear, half with unprecedented excitement. I immediately texted the nurse manager, lying about a bad cold and needing a few days off. Then I booked a flight to Miami, the fastest I could find. I'd never been so impulsive, nor so desperate to escape. In Miami for 4 days, I lived as another version of myself, one I'd only seen in dreams or on social media. I stayed in the swankiest South Beach hotel, where opening the balcony door revealed an endless ocean. I bought a dress like Olivia's, ran and twirled on the beach, letting the salty breeze tangle my hair. I dined in upscale restaurants, ordered the priciest cocktails, and thanked the waiters with elegance. I took countless photos, spending hours selecting and editing to ensure every one showed a radiant, carefree Chloe. I posted the best one, captioning it with a borrowed platitude. Sometimes you escape to return better. Olivia was the first to like it, commenting, "That's the spirit, Chloe. You should have done this ages ago. So happy for you." Watching the likes and envious comments pile up, I felt an unprecedented satisfaction. In that moment, all the exhaustion, grievances, and dissatisfaction with reality seemed washed away by Miami's waves. I felt I'd finally come alive, not just existed. That $1,000 loan was the first match that ignited the forest of my desires. And I struck it myself. Returning from Miami, an overwhelming sense of loss nearly drowned me. The apartment was still that cramped, cluttered space, the job still that soul-crushing grind. The brief, money-fueled taste of a high-quality life was like a potent drug. After one hit, I couldn't stomach the dullness of reality. Worse, the loan repayment notice arrived, with interest far higher than I'd expected. Anxiety consumed me. I craved the rush of spending, but dreaded the mounting bills. Then I stumbled across an online casino ad, promising free bonus cash for new users. The screen flashed with spinning slot reels and cascading coins. "Overnight riches aren't a dream," the tacky slogan declared, striking the most fragile part of me. Maybe I could try it. Just with the free bonus, maybe win back the trip money. I rationalized it. I downloaded the app, its interface dripping with luxurious allure. Using the $50 bonus, I clicked on a glitzy slot game. With dazzling animations and pulsing music, the reels spun. I held my breath. Seconds later, 3 matching symbols aligned, and coins exploded across the screen. My balance shot to $300. That moment hit me harder than running on Miami's beach. My heart pounded, blood rushing to my head. It was too easy, easier than withdrawing cash from an ATM. That first win intoxicated me. I felt chosen, the lucky one who'd cracked the system. I poured the $300 back in, and soon it was $1,000, then $3,000. That night, I withdrew $2,000, paying off the travel loan with plenty left over. I couldn't sleep. Lying in bed, my mind replayed the slots' flashing patterns and climbing numbers. That feeling, controlling my fate, creating something from nothing, was addictive. It whispered, "Chloe, your life doesn't have to be ICU drudgery and death. You can have another life, one that sparkles with endless possibilities." From that day, my life split in two. By day, I was Nurse Chloe, white coat and mask, shuffling between hospital beds, maintaining a professional facade. But my heart was in that virtual casino. During meetings, as the supervisor droned, I calculated my next bet. While tending patients, my hands moved mechanically, my eyes itching to check my phone for game results. At night, shedding my scrubs, the world shrank to my phone's screen. That was my battlefield, my kingdom. I studied betting strategies, analyzed odds, fancying myself a shrewd financial analyst. Slots weren't enough. I moved to online poker and Baccarat, games requiring skill and judgment, feeding my delusion that I was winning through talent. Winning felt euphoric. It made me feel invincible, above the masses. I started buying things, luxury bags and designer shoes I'd once only admired in shop windows, purchased without a second thought. I upgraded my phone, signed up for pricey yoga classes. My Instagram posts grew frequent, each photo crafted to project a successful, independent woman persona. I even lied to my boyfriend, Liam. He was a software engineer, kind dependable, a bit reserved. We'd been together 3 years, our relationship steady. Our dream was a suburban house with a yard, a golden retriever, and a simple, secure life. We scrimped and saved, pooling most of our income. Liam trusted me completely, handing me control of our joint account, saying, "You're better with money, love." I still remember how my hands shook the first time I transferred $5,000 from that account to the casino. I told myself it was just a borrow, that I'd win it back with interest and Liam would never know. A gambler's dictionary has no last time. One bet led to thousands. That account became a bottomless chip stack, fueling reckless wagers. The avalanche started with a single, seemingly harmless snowflake, a devastating loss. One night, I burned through $10,000 in hours. For the first time, real fear gripped me, my heart squeezed by an icy hand, breathing labored. The glaring negative balance on the screen was a slap in the face. Reason screamed to stop, but not giving up hijacked my brain. How could I let it go? That was 10 grand. One voice echoed, "Win it back. Just get your money back, then quit forever." With that obsession, I began a frantic chase. I threw every cent left in our joint account into the casino. Within an hour, the balance was zero. I sat stunned in the dark, my world collapsing. That account held our dream house's down payment, Liam's future coded line by line. From then, I plummeted into an abyss. To fill the hole, I hunted for new funds. I applied for a dozen credit cards, maxing them out. When those ran dry, I turned to shady online loan platforms, their interfaces friendlier than government websites, cheerfully promising easy loans, instant cash. They never asked why I needed money or if I could repay. They just opened Hell's Gate and politely sealed it behind me. My life became a giant Ponzi scheme. I used Platform B's money to pay Platform A's interest, Platform C's to patch B's hole. The debt snowball grew, from tens of thousands to $50,000, $100,000, $500, $000, finally, a crushing $250,000. My fights with Liam escalated. He noticed my distraction, the endless strange calls I took on the balcony, my sleepless nights staring at my phone, swinging between ecstasy and despair. I wove lie after lie. It's a friend needing a loan, it's family trouble, it's work stress. The lies piled up until I half believed them. My acting sharpened. I could hang up on a debt collector and turn to Liam with a smile, asking, "What's for dinner, babe?" For more gambling funds, I made a crazier choice. Without telling anyone, I sold the small apartment my parents had bought me years ago, my only anchor in this city, my last fallback. The moment the sale money hit, I funneled it into that cursed gambling site, delusional that one big win would fix everything, fill every hole, and restore my life. Predictably, the money vanished like a cup of water poured into the Sahara, not even a wisp of vapor left. Debt collectors turned vicious. No longer just reminders, they hurled threats and insults. They'd call my parents, my workplace, Photoshop deadbeat, onto my picture and send it to my friends. I lived in constant dread, every phone buzz making me jump. At work, I couldn't focus. My hands shook giving injections, missing veins, drawing patient complaints. My prized professionalism and calm were gone. I was walking a cliff's edge, the path narrowing, pursued by the hounds of debt. Liam found out. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'd just lost my last loan, sitting in the office, the world gray. His call came, his voice eerily calm, chilling me. "Come home now," he said. I returned, dread like facing an execution. The door was unlocked. Liam sat on the couch, not looking at me. On the coffee table lay torn envelopes, collection letters from banks and lenders, plus printouts of my bank statements. The air reeked of judgment. He finally looked up. I'll never forget his eyes. No anger, no sadness, just utter estrangement and exhaustion, like he was seeing a stranger. He pointed to the papers, voicing the number I'd avoided. 250,000. Loan sharks called my office. My knees buckled. That number, from his lips, was a red-hot brand searing my heart. I'd burned a gaping hole in my life. That night, no yelling. He just sat, staring at the letters all night. The room was deathly silent, only the wall clocks ticking counting down our relationship. At dawn he stood, voice hoarse with a hungover weariness. "Chloe, we're done." The Chloe I knew was kind, hardworking, thrilled over discounted milk. I don't know who's sitting here now. I'm tired. I can't hold on to someone determined to jump. He left with a small suitcase, just clothes and his laptop. From the balcony, I watched him climb into a rideshare, the car blending into rush hour traffic, a speck vanishing like a drop in the ocean. The potted plant we'd nurtured wilted, leaves yellowing in days. Like our love. Alone in the empty apartment, his presence lingered, half-drunk coffee, his jacket on the chair. I realized I'd lost more than money, more than a home. I'd lost a man who saw only me, coding for our shared future. I'd gambled his trust and our dreams, losing everything. The final straw was the one place I should never have touched, the department's funds. Emily trusted me to manage the emergency fund for indigent patients' medical costs. It wasn't much, but for the desperate, it was a lifeline. That afternoon, a collector bypassed my blocks, calling the nurses' station. Their vile tirade echoed through the ward. I hung up, mortified, feeling colleagues' stares, curious, scornful, pitying, like needles in my back. Like a thief stripped bare, I fled to the bathroom, locking the door. In the mirror, I saw a stranger, sallow, dark circles like bruises, eyes wild with panic and despair. That afternoon, dazed at the nurse's station, a collector's ultimatum arrived. Pay $5,000 by 5 p.m., or they'd send my debts and contracts to HR. I broke. I pictured Emily's shock and disappointment, my reputation in ruins. I couldn't lose this job, my last lifeline. My eyes fell on the charity fund's account on the computer, its icon a red devil's button, blinking, beckoning. A mad idea formed.